irritant in India-US ties. Let me take that to Sree Iyer. Sree Iyer, you know, there are just so many issues right now, thorny issues in this relationship. We've talked about the tariff war that has happened between the two sides ever since India was dropped from the GSP list. We've talked about how they are continuously opposing India's purchase of the S-400 missile system from Russia, something India is not going to back down from. You know, there is this whole controversy over 5G and Huawei technologies. The US has blacklisted them, but is India prepared to do it? There's a big question mark over that. And let's also talk about Iran. This visit comes at a time when not only tensions between Iran and the US are at an all-time high, but you know, India is also suffering hugely because of the sanctions imposed and the fact that we've had to completely stop our oil imports from Iran. Is that something that Mike Pompeo during this visit is likely to address? Because India wants to find alternatives. Do you think the US is willing to listen?
I think I'd like to break it down to three important things that I think Mike Pompeo will discuss. One is, of course, defense deals with Russia as to where India stands in this fluid situation. I'm sure Mike Pompeo is going to tell Jaishankar that, look, Russia and China are getting closer together, and if you use Russia's technology, chances are that Chinese will come to know what you're doing with S-400, and because China is in bed with Pakistan, at least as far as CPEC and a few other things is concerned, essentially you are letting your opposition know what you know and what your CPEC and a few other things is concerned. Essentially, you are letting your opposition know what you know and what your plans are. So that is that's how Mike Pompeo might look at that. And the second thing about US and Iran, I think that is a genuine thing that India could play a role there to try and say, look, we understand the Iranians, we understand where you are coming from. Let's try and make sure that some via media is some sort of an agreement is done, and that will be beneficial to everyone. And the most important thing, the third thing, is the 5G technology. Neha, if you will permit me, I just want to add a little bit time, take a little bit of your time to explain why 5G is getting so important. See, with 5G, what the US is alleging is that Huawei has put in some technology that essentially allows them to snoop in on anyone who's using this technology. This is an allegation. Now, if Mike Pompeo were to supply the proof to India, saying that this is how Huawei is doing it, and if that is, and I can tell you one thing, when US takes that kind of a stance, they will usually come with all data to back up their claims, and if that were true, then India needs to take a step back and understand, first of all, what do we need to do for 5G? Who do we go with? And so on and so forth. To me, if you take a look at PPP, purchasing power parity, number one, number two, number three are US, China, and India. Right? So India has this pivotal position. Whoever they align with, that becomes the
you're making an interesting point there. You are saying one second. Sree Iyer, I want to come back to you.
I don't think we can all speak at the same time.
Seems to be Ambassador Chakrabarti seems to be of the view that, you know, India is not going to compromise on its own strategic and economic interests on a lot of these issues that we've been talking about. India has drawn a red line. And therefore, ultimately, it is really for the Trump administration to understand India's concerns. However, this is Trump we are talking about. Is he going to understand India's concerns? Even when the congressmen were opposed to it, he went ahead and dropped us from the GSP list. Even when the Congress is in favor of giving India a waiver as far as the S-400 deal is concerned, it is Trump who's threatening us with sanctions. So can we make President Trump see reason? That's my one question to you. And the other question is the whole China factor. If Trump is so concerned about this China's growing rise and aggression and expansionism, then why does he not take India more seriously? Why is he not more accommodative of India?
Well, Trump is a transactional kind of a president. I'll give you something. What do you give me in return? And he's going to try and drive a hard bargain. Now, remember that when McMaster's came calling 2 years ago, requesting India's help boots on the ground on Afghanistan, rather abruptly, the then defense minister said no. I think, in my opinion, that was a mistake, because India could have easily made a deal whereby they could have helped US to withdraw gracefully from Afghanistan, placed its own troops there, and then you would have checkmated Pakistan geographically. You would be looking at it from both sides. And in exchange, India could have asked for a whole set of armaments, the latest technology, and at no cost, because you are giving boots on the ground. Remember, 2020 is a presidential year.
Yes.
And no president will want to add more boots on the ground in foreign territories. This
Yes.
is absolute no. So Trump wants to come back. He will not want to do this. And this, if Mr. Mike Pompeo brings it up, the new defense minister should embrace with both hands. We are India is spending a lot of money on its defense, and this is one way to reduce your defense expenditure. Plus, India has a very disciplined armed forces, and that would help India to leapfrog its technical deficiencies. And frankly, S-400, you have to look at the merits and demerits.
But
So you believe it's a collective victory. Yes. Okay, let's get in Sree Iyer. Sree Iyer, come in here. Your reading of this statement, sir, and what is now the road ahead for India to get him back?
I think I've said this several times in debates and NewsX that this is going to happen. It's just a matter of time. It's not just that India is getting more special treatment today. It is just that the United States is tightening the screws. Witness how the United States managed to have the CFO of Huawei arrested in Canada and then extradited to the United States. So US's reach is a lot longer than many other countries. However, having said that, I don't see why India cannot also do something like this. You need to build a strong case, not something that is full of holes, which is what India tends to do. And the reason for that is not that the government's intent is not there. It is just the Babus are protecting themselves. You have a very corrupt Babu system that needs to be weeded out. And Mr. Modi has this tremendous trust in the same system that ruined India in the 10 years of UPA. I don't understand why he doesn't go and clean house. First do that, then you will start saying...
So the resolve is there, the resolve is there, but now it needs to be followed by credible action is there. The resolve is there, the intention is there, but now action is needed. Mr. Iyer?
Yes, that's absolutely right, but I still want to see, I know when I can tell you that some of the rotten elements, some of the rotten apples in the administration are taken out and they are shown the door, because these people were the ones who were helping all these politicians to salt their money away in tax havens. That needs to be done. Otherwise, they'll keep on sabotaging it.
And obviously, there were people tipping off these evaders. There were people tipping them off that they could have been arrested, which is why they flew and became fugitives. Yes, Sree Iyer, you wanted to come in.
Yes, I just wanted to give you an example of what happened in the income tax officers thing. There were 27 people compulsorily retired, except there was one person who was honest. He also got mixed up in this. And this is the kind of thing that needs to be done, because I believe, my personal opinion, that this was entirely sabotage. That Prime Minister Modi was said, okay, we are going to let go of all these corrupt officers, and then, it's like, Mahabharata saying, Aswatthama hataha iti kunjara. These people slipped in this name saying that this person didn't do the right thing. I mean, there's a very specious reason that was given to let go of Officer S.K. Srivastava. He is the guy who was honest to a fault, and he has been fighting so many false cases foisted on him by a cabal. And that's led by the chief evil genius, Mr. Chief P. Chidambaram. I mean, so this is exactly what needs to be readed out. And I would really urge the government to reinstate Srivastava, because if you don't do that, all the honest officers are going to be told, don't say anything, because if you open your mouth, you're going to be punished. This is exactly the message that is going out right now. And I really hope that Prime Minister Modi rectifies this ASAP.
Okay, let me... Okay, before I get back, Shivam Chabra, yes, Sree Iyer.
there is one way that India can accelerate this process, because there are going to be more such people. India needs to alert United Kingdom and United States governments that here is a list of possible fugitives, and if they are ever in your radar, if they enter your customs, please let us know, because we would like you to hold them there. Just like the way the United States got hold of the Huawei CFO. The reason I'm saying this is because their launch pads are almost always after going to either London or New York, because it's not one small thing they'll try to do. They'll first try to first scale their tax haven holdings. They'll try to move from place A to place B. Something else will be there. So my point is, why go all the way to the end point and then start digging? Try to ward them off. First, have a very robust system in place in India to prevent people from fleeing. Second is, they will go to only a few destinations before they launch off to the smaller places, and catch them right there.
Okay. This kind of thing. Okay, you will play a positive role, but what more needs to be done? Moving ahead now, Sree Iyer, it's a good step, that's been taken. There is follow-up happening in the Nirav Modi case as well. Vijay Mallya, there's already closure been achieved with regards to certain other evaders who are already back. We've detailed that, all the evaders in the Augusta case and various other, ED scam cases. But what else needs to be done now to ensure that these individuals do not, escape the country in the first place? Most notably recently, yes, there was obviously alacrity in the cases of Monty Chadda. Ponty Chadda's son who was nabbed in Delhi. There was, the case of Naresh Goyal and his wife, who were actually called back and their aircraft was taxiing, but the aircraft was called back to the bay.
Yes, as soon as a person's name enters the lookout notice, right, that person's name should be made public. Either it can be on the website of the Enforcement Directorate or the CBI, whichever is the agency, and this should be made public. There is nothing wrong in this. You have to name and shame these individuals. Sure, there will be some bigger people who are actually using them as pawns, but you got to start somewhere. And I think that making that public aware that a certain individual, will be some bigger people who are actually using them as pawns, but you got to start somewhere. And I think that making that public aware that a certain individual is a flight risk will make them be, looking out for them even in the common places like the markets, in public places and so on and so forth. This heat has to be made, this awareness has to be brought about, and there is nothing wrong if the investigating agencies feel that somebody has done something wrong, why not make it public? What is there, this secret thing? Naresh Goyal almost slipped just because the name Goyal was mispronounced in the list, in the LOC, and somebody just compared the passport word for letter and thought that this was a different Goyal. I mean, these are not things that you need to be lax about. Get the exact name as it is from the passport. Make sure that all these small loopholes are closed.
How do we tighten